I think we were still, 3-point lead going into the fourth. We got it down to one. Settled for some tough shots. Could have attacked like we did in the third, especially on some cross matches. But we settled for some threes or turn the ball over. Quite pretty much that simple. 18 on the night for 24 points, and I think some came in that crucial stretch where we either settled or just didn't get a shot off at all. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't our sharpest game offensively, obviously. Besides the missed shots, shooting 19% from three and 35 overall. Didn't feel like we shared it as much as we had been. It felt like we were more crisp with ball movement, body movement in previous games, and kind of got bogged down a little bit. So not our sharpest game, and not a great night to obviously shoot poorly from three. But as far as following game plan, a little bit of knowing what they are, they have really good shot blockers. It felt like we challenged a little bit too much early and had some outlets and drop offs there. So and played in the crowd at times too much. So that obviously got us off to a slow start. It felt like the third quarter we readjusted and came out with more purpose, more movement, and kind of got back into it. Besides guarding and giving up 18 that quarter only, just didn't sustain it into the fourth. Yep. Yeah, it seemed like that tonight when we were getting downhill more in previous games and not settling as much. A few stand out with the Kongwu closing out on some of our wings that we took threes and probably could have drove those, that 5-man. And then I think one went off JT's leg on the baseline against Hunter. So we still had some advantages we could have taken with Trae Young and some guys out there in the bigs. And it did feel like we settled more tonight than previous games. We were getting downhill, getting to the rim, or getting fouled. And happened to be in those instances, like you said, and we were 4 or 5 possessions where they had a 1-point lead. And we could have finally took the lead. So didn't love our execution in the fourth as much as the third. Seemed like we didn't settle and we moved the ball much more and got clean shots. Well, the turnovers, a lot of them were self-inflicted. Either playing in the crowd, and I think everybody was a victim of that, not just him and him being home, but I think JT had 5, and just in general, I felt like we were, not finding our outlets like we had been in previous games. And so when we did, we missed some open threes that we got good looks, but obviously 18 is a high number that we haven't had in a while, and obviously you don't need to help this team out by giving them 24. So not only the turnovers, but the shots in the crowd, 4 shots or block shots that led to their transition. So I don't feel we were best offensively, and kind of helped them out in that regard. Yeah, it was somewhat the lineups early. We had, we started big and didn't love how our rotations were out of that, and I felt we were better when came back in the third where we were smaller. They really come with a small lineup, so when we take them out in the first and third quarter, they're coming with Gallinari and some of their small guys, so we only really needed one big out there, and that group just played well together, honestly. So might have been a victim of the lineups he was in with more than anything he did, but tonight wasn't the need for as many double bigs out there. Some turnovers for sure, as I mentioned earlier, and then just not being crisp offensively as much. A combination of all things, I would think. We did miss some good looks we got, but at times when they start switching, what we've done in previous games is penetrate and kick and find guys, and like I said, I don't think we were sharp not only in the fourth quarter, but the entire game, honestly, other than the third quarter. So kudos that we got back in the game by guarding. Got some ball movement. It seemed evident coming right out in the third. We penetrated and got some open threes to Marcus, but felt like we went a little ISO heavy and got stagnant. But turnovers hurt us as well.
Coach has a couple Zoom questions. First from John Corrales, please.
Decision to go with the Dennis Schroeder Marcus Smart combination in the fourth quarter. It seemed like that's a combination you'd started to get away from, and it had been problematic in the past. What went into the decision to play those two together again?
That they were small. They were playing pretty small. Overall, Marcus was playing really well. Dennis was pushing the pace in the third when we got back into it, and really wanted to have more scores out there around that. We were struggling to score tonight, honestly. Not only shooting the ball, but penetrating. So, had those two out there with Jason and Jalen together. So, haven't played it as much, but at times, obviously it's been really good for us at times earlier in the year, and more so a situational thing with some of the guys not playing as well off the bench.
Keith Smith.
Coach, speaking of rotations, it seems like you've kind of gone to just 3 bigs over the last handful of games. Is that matchup dependent, or is that something where now we're just starting to see things settle into where you want to be with the roster healthy?
Some are based on lineups and personnel and what teams are playing. And if you're, referring to Grant as one of the bigs, he's multifaceted as far as what he does. But for the most part, it's been Rob and Al both been healthy now. We had played Ennis, obviously mixed them in there when those guys were out or just coming back on minute restrictions. So it's kind of just filtered out that way. Obviously tonight was a game where they don't play a lot of bigs, one at a time, and even go small with Gallinari or Collins at the 5. So it was more of a necessity tonight that we didn't need as many bigs. Thank you.